The last superspeedway race of the season is over, and it did not disappoint. The 007 of NASCAR goes to victory lane yet again at Talladega, this time though with a win margin of 12 1,000ths of a second over Kevin Harvick to win the Yellawood 500. I know superspeedway racing is mostly about luck, but there are familiar faces that we see consistently at the front of a field during these events. I'm talking about Brad Keselowski, Denny Hamlin, Bubba Wallace, and Ryan Blaney, and overall that 12 team put together another solid day, was within the top 10 most of the race. They had a stage win in the first stage, and as far as I know, it was a mistake-free day for that 12 team, Ryan Blaney getting his third win at this track in his 301st start. Now this final lap was insane. It was Ryan Blaney versus Kevin Harvick. Harvick got to the lead on the bottom and Blaney led the top. Harvick went to block Blaney and they did a crisscross move. They swapped lines. If Herbst had been able to stay with Harvick, if Herbst did not spin, I think Harvick would have won this race. Unfortunately, though, for that Ford team, they were disqualified following post-race inspection for an issue with the windshield fasteners on that Ford car. So all in all, I guess I'm glad that Kevin Harvick didn't win this event, because can you imagine the emotions of, this is his last season. This might have been his last career win, celebrating all that and the emotions tied to it, and then you figure out you're disqualified. So an unfortunate event for Kevin Harvick, but I guess if there's any good to come out of it, at least he didn't get the win this time around, but also horrible for that team to be disqualified. With that said, Harvick is counted as finishing this race in last place, so we move everyone on up a spot, and William Byron is your new second place finisher. Miraculously, after an up and down day and a speeding penalty, Denny Hamlin found himself finishing this race in the third position. It was an overall tough day for Toyota. I believe the next best finisher of the Toyotas was Tyler Reddick. Rounding out your top 5, Corey LaJoie and Austin Cindric. Shockingly, this is Austin Cindric's first top 10 since the Chicago Street Course. Pretty wild. 6th place, we have Justin Haley. In 7th, we have Chase Elliott still fighting for an owner's championship. In 8th place, Ryan Preece, and I gotta say I'm a little disappointed that Preece nor Chase Briscoe contended for a win for this race. They were running the Talladega Nights tribute paint schemes. Chase Briscoe was running the scheme of Old Spice, while Preece was running Wonder Bread, so unfortunate we didn't get to see them win this race, do a little shake and bake for the end there, but overall though, solid marketing campaign 1, and 2, good top 10 day for Ryan Preece. Speaking of a good top 10 day, Riley Herbst in that 9th position, and then in 10th we have Daniel Suarez. As for the remainder of our playoff drivers that did finish this race, we have Christopher Bell in the 14th position, 15th Larson, 16th Reddick, 18th Truex, 19th Buescher, 23rd Wallace, and 25th Kyle Busch. We did have 2 playoff drivers that did not finish this race. We have Ross Chastain, who wrecked out pretty early in this event. He jumped hoping to get some stage points at the end of stage 1. Unfortunately, Stenhouse ran out of gas on that outside line. Kyle Busch gave him a good push. Everyone runs out of space, and there goes Chastain into the wall. The last playoff driver to not finish this race, unfortunately, was Brad Keselowski. We went into Talladega, at least I did, thinking that he had a great shot at winning this event. Probably was his best shot to get his first one of 2023. That did not happen, though. Going into the tri-oval, Keselowski gave Hocevar a massive push. Hocevar could not hang on to it, went spinning, and massive hits for other drivers involved, such as Ty Gibbs and Austin Dillon. At the Infield Care Center in his interview, Hocevar was wondering if he just backed up way too much to Brad Keselowski. He wasn't going full throttle, and when he's not going full throttle and Brad Keselowski's probably going full throttle or close to trying to give Hocevar a massive push, that disturbance is going to cause Hocevar's car to get really squirrely, and of course he's going to spin out. He did say he didn't feel this was Brad's fault at all. It was kind of a racing deal. He learned a lot and he had a lot of fun, which is a positive. Brad Keselowski, from his side of things, kind of agrees. He said, I didn't feel like the push was really hard, and he felt that Hocevar's car wasn't handling the best, and that might have caused this. Pretty scary incident. Brad's car also got airborne, so glad everyone was okay there. Glad everyone was able to get out of their car under their own powers, and everyone was checked and released from the Infield Care Center. So scary wreck, another scary event at Talladega, but luckily everyone was okay. As for your point situation, Ryan Blaney came into this race below that cutoff line. With this win at Talladega, he does not need to worry about that anymore. He is locked into the round of 8. And the stat continues this playoff season that every single race has had a different winner, and they've all been playoff drivers. The drivers below that cutoff line look similar, except instead of Ryan Blaney below, we have Ross Chastain below, -9. We knew he was probably going to be in a tough point situation following his early exit from the race. Bubba Wallace is -10 to the good. Kyle Busch is -26, probably in a must-win situation. And I'm feeling confident about Tyler Reddick. He is fantastic at road courses, only -2 to the good. The driver that I am very concerned about and that needed a solid day at Talladega was Brad Keselowski. He's +2 to the good, but he's surrounded by drivers in these playoff standings that are decent or really good at road courses. Ross Chastain's good at road courses. We have Kyle Larson that's great at road courses. Martin Truex Jr. +17 to the good, that's great at road courses. So if I was Brad Keselowski, I unfortunately would not be feeling too confident going into the Roval. But again, crazy things can happen. We know the Roval is prone to a little bit of chaos, so we'll have to see how this plays out for that 6th team. I do feel like we have to talk about this. With this win from Blaney, do we feel he is actually a championship contender? I'm not saying that he's the championship favorite. I'm saying, do we feel that he can actually contend for a championship? And I've got some thoughts behind this. Well, if we take this track by track with what we have coming up, obviously, like I said, the Roval, he's locked into the round of 8, so he doesn't really have to be concerned, but he can use this day to capture really good playoff points, whether it's by stage wins. Maybe he does go for a race win, but the more playoff points you stack up, the better in standings you're going to be heading into the round of 8. However, he's not necessarily the best road course racer. He's not bad by any means. He's kind of average. He does, however, have the 5th best average finishing position of the active drivers at this track. And he captured the win for the very first event at the Roval, so that's something to hold on to as well. If we go to the round of 8, we have Vegas. This is a track that's pretty good for Penske overall. However, in the spring, it was a pretty rough race for them. Blaney does have the 7th best average finishing position throughout the field. His crew chief, Jonathan Hassler, actually kind of talked about their chances moving forward post-race. Here's what he had to say. He said, quote, "I'm excited for sure to go to Vegas. A rough track seems to be one of our strengths. Obviously, it has a lot of similarities to Charlotte. So yeah, we're just going to keep working. And if we have a chance to get to Phoenix, Ryan is good there as anybody else." And to echo what Jonathan Hassler said, yeah, Ryan Blaney is strong at Phoenix. He finished in the 2nd position last year during the championship race. I thought that he probably could have won the race, but Joey Logano was going for a championship. I'm not going to speculate, but I'm just saying. But before we even get to Phoenix, we have Homestead and we have Martinsville. Homestead is statistically one of Ryan Blaney's worst tracks, so I'm not feeling confident about him there. But with Martinsville, I feel very strong about Ryan Blaney's abilities to get a win or to get himself to advance into the championship 4 at that track. This is Blaney's 2nd best track with an average finishing position of 9.5, and he has the best average finishing position of all the active drivers at Martinsville. So if I were the 12 team, I would not put all my eggs in one basket at Martinsville, but I would feel pretty confident that I can make up some ground at that track if we had a rough start to the round of 8. And then if they get to Phoenix, like I already said, he is solid at that track, but if he's going to Phoenix and he's facing off against Hendrick Motorsports, in my opinion, that's going to be pretty terrifying. Kyle Larson is fantastic at Phoenix. Heck, William Byron won Phoenix earlier this year, so we know that they're going to bring the heat, but I will say he has some steep competition. If he's going to make the championship 4, it will not be easy for that 12 team. The final question I actually hesitate on answering a little bit, but I'm gonna talk about it because this has been asked of me on social media. But do I believe that Ryan Blaney deserves the 2023 championship title? Did he do enough to get that? And for that I say we still have a long ways to go. We still have the round of 8, the championship 4. We're not even done with the round of 12 yet. But I want to reframe this a little bit because I don't think talking about if someone deserves it or not is fair. More so, I want to talk about, do the stars align? We've had underdog championship winners before. I'm thinking of Martin Truex Jr. in 2017, Joey Logano in 2018. Ryan Blaney could follow that same path and win the championship this year, and it would be a complete shock. It's no secret that Penske has been off all year. Jonathan Hassler also talked about this post-race, saying that they just really haven't had the speed that they're wanting, but they've been working hard and making some progress. They've made some progress, but the question is, can they make enough to get their driver into the championship 4? Blaney has never had a championship 4 appearance. He's made several round of 8 appearances, but has never made it to that final fight for the championship at Phoenix. And that on its own would be a success, regardless of if he wins the championship or not. So that goal for that team is to at least make it to that round of 4. But at the end of the day, if he does win that championship, I do think it'll be categorized as an underdog win. But I think if he's able to get himself in position to take momentum from this win and carry it forward and have good results, I think it would be considered deserving. Thoughts on this race? Obviously, another home run with the Super Speedway package with the Gen 7 car. And I believe this race had the most lead changes at Talladega in the track's history, which is solid A+. Something that intrigued me about this race and something that I really appreciated is that no lane had an advantage. There's some tracks where it's like, oh, you got to run the high line to get the most speed, which that is still true. But even then, if you ran the high line on this track, you still had the middle lane and the bottom lane that gained just as much speed. It really just depended on who you were working with to push you, who you were side drafting off of. It really was anyone's game. And I think that's what made Talladega this fall so entertaining. Also, 90% of this race was 3 wide, which was very intense. I was on the edge of my seat the entire race, and I think I've said that about all these super speedway races this season, but for this race in particular, it really made these drivers show their discipline and their skill behind the wheel, and I loved it. I still think Daytona, before we went to the playoffs, was my favorite race of the season super speedway-wise, but I gotta give this race a 90%, just 1% below that Daytona race, still making it above the yellow line. An absolutely great show from Talladega. I cannot believe that this was the last super speedway race of the season. This is flying by. We only have a few more races left in 2023, but coming up next on the schedule to close out the round of 12 and to determine our round of 8 contenders, we have the Roval. This layout at Charlotte Motor Speedway is iconic for big moments, great quotes, iconic finishes, and shocking playoff revelations. I'm very excited for this and excited to be there live reporting for TobyChristieCom and Above the Yellow Line. To keep up with our race weekend shenanigans, make sure to check out TobyChristieCom and AboveTheYellowLine.com for all our motorsports reporting. You can also find our social media pages there as well for more up-to-date news stories. So if you're at the Roval, I will see you there. Thank you all so much for the support, and until next time, I'll see ya. Bye. October is Dysautonomia Awareness Month. To learn more about it, click the video on the left, and for more NASCAR news, click the video on the right and the link in the center of your screen. Plus, check out the links in the description of this video to find more NASCAR content.